Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Elle, and today I'm going to be talking about some second chance romances. This is one of my favorite tropes because I feel like it brings so much angst, pining, which I love both of those things, and I just love them so much. I love second chance romances, and I've been reading a lot of them lately. So I wanted to chat about some of my favorites. So let's get right into this video. The first book I'm going to talk about is Skies Over Caledonia. This is by Samantha Young, and I recently read this and absolutely love it so much. So this is kind of a thing of like, we were almost a thing, but we weren't. So the heroine and hero, you know, we're in a bar and, you know, kind of locked eyes, and they thought they were going to have a moment, but then he shut it down, and it is years later, and she's coming back to Scotland to visit her sister, and she realizes that if she leaves Scotland, she will not be able to get back into the country with her visa. And so she propositions the hero with a marriage convenience, and the hero is the cousin of one of the previous heroines. And so he agrees because he owns a farm and he needs some money, and she comes from a very wealthy, like, Hollywood family. And so they have to live together. It's forced proximity. They're living on this farm. There is so much tension between them and chemistry. And they have like an F it moment where they're, you know, they're like F it and like go into, you know, their attraction. And I love that so much. There were so many my wife moments in this romance. It was just so good. He is so protective over her. It's also a little bit of an age gap too. And I absolutely adored this romance. It was amazing. So good. Definitely check it out. But I would recommend reading this series in order. I do really enjoy this series, but we do see a lot of side characters in this one. And I've heard that for people that have dived into this one without reading the previous books, it's been a little confusing. So the series is great, and I would recommend all of the books in the series, and I would just read it in order, and I love this one. It was amazing. Then I have Rope the Moon by Ava Hunter. This is a second chance romance, and I absolutely adored this one. It was so good. So the heroine and hero, they were in a relationship before, but she kind of left town and they had this like secret relationship, and so now it is years later and she's in a really tough position because she is pregnant and was in a really abusive relationship, and the hero kind of saves her because she is like driving out of town trying to get away from her ex, and the hero comes and gets her and kind of has a place for her to stay and regroup. And she is just like devastated and doesn't even know she wants her baby because her ex is such a monster. And so her and the hero have so much, like, you know, history together, and they still have feelings for each other. And I just thought this was such a beautiful romance because you really see her struggle internally, like, should she keep the baby, or does she not? She wants to keep the baby, but more of like, is she ready to be a mom? And the hero dives headfirst into being there for her, and I just love that. And he was so supportive, and there was a little bit of suspense in this one towards the end with her ex. And if you just want a really good second chance romance with lots of history and pining, I would check this one out. Then I have Where We Promise by Ashley Munoz. This is a kind of second chance because they were almost a thing but weren't. So the heroine is pregnant with her ex's baby, and he kind of left her for dirt. And the hero is the president of the motorcycle club that they have, and her ex was his like vice president. And so now she's kind of on the run trying to get away from her ex, and the hero helps her, and they go to the motorcycle club that we know of, like the series, which is the Stone Riders, to kind of seek solace. And so they have to stay together in the same house, and they both have a lot of feelings for each other. This was really angsty because they have a history, and, you know, they still have feelings for each other, and I just loved how they finally gave in to their desires, and it was really good. And of course there is some suspense in this one with her ex and like him still being in the picture and if he was going to do anything. And I just love romances where, you know, it's not the hero's baby, but he still wants to be a dad to it and still loves it as his own, and it was just so good. Then I have a historical romance, which is The Notorious Lord Knightley by Lorraine Heath. This is so good, super angsty. So the hero and heroine were madly in love, and on their wedding day, the hero basically is like, I can't marry you, and leaves her at the altar. Now, it is years later, and she's still in society, and she is currently writing a book about, like, scandalous things and about their relationship. And so he's coming back into town, and the book is anonymous, and he finds out about it and is, like, trying to talk to her and is like, are you writing this about me? And she's like, no. And so there is so much tension between them, and he still won't tell her why he, you know, gave up on their relationship because they were meant to be. And it is just a super angsty romance because she is just over him and wants nothing to do with him, but he still loves her. And it is such a great romance. I love this one. If you want a really good second chance angsty historical with a little bit of a twist in it, I would read this one. Then I have Poison Roses by Tate James. This is a wide shoes, like, darker rock star romance kind of. So the heroine is on the run from her ex, who is actually in the mafia, and she goes to this, like, nightclub to kind of get away because she's, like, literally on the run. And she runs into this guy, and he is a member of this famous boy band. And so he's like, come on, I'll give you some protection. And then she realizes that her other ex is in the band as well. So she ends up staying with the band and for protection, and her ex that's in the band wants nothing to do with her, but she is starting to form a relationship with one of the guys and some of the other guys in the band, but she's also on the run from her ex who's in the mafia. And so this one is a lot of fun, super action-packed with, you know, she's like on the run, so they have to protect her, and it's really, really fun. I really enjoyed this one. And the next romance is After the Storm by Laura Pavlov. I love this one. It is a part of one of my favorite series by her. So the hero and heroine were in a relationship in high school, but they broke up, and she jumped into a new relationship with someone else, and he got a girl pregnant. So now it is years later, and she's coming back to the small town to take care of her dad, and she realizes that the hero has a daughter. And so they are just running into each other all over the town, and they still have feelings for each other, and she starts hanging out around him, and it is just such a good angsty, mutual pining romance. I love this one. It is so good, and I love how, like, the hero would purposefully try to, like, seek her out. It was adorable, and I loved how they came back together and realized their mistakes, and it was just so good. Then I have Whispers of You by Catherine Cowles. This is a part of her Lost and Found series. It is the first book. So the hero and heroine were absolutely inseparable in high school, and something happens to the heroine where she almost dies, and the hero is absolutely terrified of losing her. So he ends up leaving town after high school and just leaving her in the dirt, like, just, you know, goes and is like, I gotta get out of here, I can't take losing you. So now it is years later, and he's coming back to the small town, and she lives there, and she is best friends with his sister. And so he is, like, hanging around her again because he is a part of, like, search and rescue, and she, I think, is, like, one of the caller people in, like, the sheriff's office that answers 911 calls. And so they start having to hang around each other because of stuff happening in the town, and they both still have feelings for each other, but she was just so hurt by him, and he just doesn't want to lose her again. And it was really good. I really enjoyed this one, and I love, like, when they have, like, cute names for each other and just, you know, became best friends before, you know, they started a romance. And it was so good, and there's some suspense with what happened to the heroine in the past coming back into the present, and it was amazing. And I have Garnet Flats by Devney Perry. This is one of my favorites from her. So the hero and heroine were together, and were actually together for like a year, and then the hero actually ended up marrying like one of her best friends, and she was absolutely devastated, never knew why. And so she's back in her small town, and is years later, and he is coming into the town to get her back. And he had reasons for what he did, and he is also an MMA fighter. And so she wants nothing to do with him, but he is like, I want to be with you again, and trying to get her to talk to him. And it was just super angsty because she still loves him, but she was absolutely devastated by what he did. And I love seeing like the full circle moment of like why he did what he did, and It was so good, and I loved like all of the fighting scenes in this one, and we got to see him training, and it was just a really solid second chance romance from Devney Perry, and I love this series by her, so definitely check it out. Then I have Inevitable Conclusions by Christina C. Jones. This is a really like pining romance, and I really enjoyed it. So the hero and heroine have been best friends for years, and they're actually older in this one. I think they're in their like late 30s, and so they were almost a thing years ago, but they couldn't handle it with their friendship and didn't want it to ruin their friendship. Now it is years later, and they kind of start hooking up, and it is really good, but she also has a daughter that she has to look out for, and she doesn't want to complicate things, their friendship again, and have it not work out. And I really enjoyed this one, and I remember loving the audiobook for it, and I need to read more from Christina C. Jones because she is such a great writer. And this one was just so good because I love their kind of like situationship, but they still have feelings for each other, but they had to work through like why it didn't work in the past, and I really love seeing that character growth. This one is just so good. Definitely check it out. Then the last book on this list is Again the Magic by Lisa Kleypas. This is one of her angstiest historical romances, and it's actually like what's the word? It's like a book before the series kind of thing. So the hero and heroine, she was, you know, a part of this wealthy family, and he was kind of the stable boy, and so they had, you know, a romance, and her father like finds out about it and like basically ships him off to the US, like America, and it's like, you're never gonna see my daughter again, and she agrees to it to protect the hero. And so now it is years later, and he is coming back to like the manor or whatever, and he is a made man. He made him like his way in America, and he is just so angry with her and just wants to kind of ruin her and like get back at her, but she had reasons for what she did, and it is so angsty. It's also like slow burn for them coming back together, and I absolutely love this one. More people need to read it. It's one of my favorites from Lisa Kleypas because I just love seeing her, you know, the heroine still have feelings for the hero and him being so mad at her, but like her, you know, valid for what she did, and her finally giving in to, you know, their chemistry and like their past and all of that good stuff. This one was so good. I just love Lisa Kleypas, and if you want a good second chance historical, I would check this one out. All right, well, that is the end of this video. I hope you enjoyed hearing me chat about some of my favorite second chance romances because I love these. And I want to thank you so much for watching this, and I will see you guys in my next one. Bye.
You're the one to write up a song for just anyone. I was always the one to find myself lost in long conversations, oh, 'cause I've always been told that things will unfold if you